Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Worth Guitars. It's been a while since I did a video. Got really busy trying to finish some projects that I had that I really needed to just, lock in on and get them done. Started a few other things that kind of got in the way of videos as well. Plus I realized, there are tons of guys out there that are building guitars and they got videos on YouTube. And it's, kind of so many, it makes me wonder, what am I supposed to show anybody on YouTube that isn't out there 6,000 times already? But, I figured why not just go ahead and keep doing them anyway, because it's fun. And it, for the most part, when I really started doing them was to kind of try to show the people that I was building the guitars for, their build as it was being built. And I was like, well, other people may want to see it too. Because I used to just put it on Facebook. And I realized, well, maybe some other people would like to see it too. As I started researching that, I realized, wow, there's a lot of guys building guitars on YouTube. But, again, there are still the guys that I'm building the guitars for that really enjoy watching the video of their guitar being built. Because it's kind of a cool thing. It's not like Gibson's showing you the guitar you're buying being built through the factory. I mean, there's a few of those kind of things like that, but not to just throw Gibson out there, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Okay. So I thought I would go ahead and do a few more videos, especially for this build that I'm getting ready to start for Ross Becker. Ross Becker lost his father recently, and his father was also a guitar player. Ross is a great guitar player, plays for a band called Por Vida. Plays in a band called Por Vida, which is incredible. And I'll put their link in this video so you can go and check those guys out. And they had talked about having a guitar built while his father was around, and they never did. And so they decided to Ross decided to kind of do a guitar dedicated to his father. So that's an important thing. I lost my father long ago too, and I still miss him to this day. So it's a big deal to me to be part of this build, because he could have obviously chosen the other 60,000 guitar builders out there in the world to do it, right? But anyway, he chose Worth Guitars, local guy, and he chose a local company, and I really dig that. And so, after having said all of that nonsense, let's get to building this guitar. Now, part of this guitar build, we're using I should say that this guitar is going to be a T-style build, kind of a hybrid T-style, with a reverse inline neck, kind of like, see if I have one, kind of like this one, but reversed, okay? Oh, hang on. So it would be our reverse headstock like this, except it'll be an angled headstock instead of the kind of Fender style like this here. By the way, we just finished this guitar. It turned out really well. I'm happy with it. Discovered a great new finish for the necks, man. It works really nice. It's a nice satin smooth finish. This one has Seymour Duncan pickups. Nice translucent butter finish on there. Very pretty S-style guitar. This is available. If you're interested, let me know. We can talk about that. But, so, reverse style headstock and a T-style body. Now, he requested that we use a Schaller Hands 6 bridge, one of these guys here. And I have not used one of these before. Usually we just use a hip shot stop tailpiece if you want a stop tailpiece, or a FU tone tremolo, or a standard hip shot tremolo if you're into that tremolo thing. Having gotten this from Schaller was very cooperative with me on this, helping me set up an account and everything. Very cool people over there in Germany. The engineering and the way this thing is made is really super nice, and I can tell that it's going to be a very comfortable bridge. One thing about the kind of the Strat style tail pieces, they have those little adjuster screws for each string that stick up on the bridge, and they're kind of uncomfortable to lay your hand across if you're the kind of guy who lays his hand on the bridge like that. This is totally smooth across the top surface, which is very cool. And I'll give you a better view of this as we go. But what I need to do, since I haven't done one, is I have all the programs written for it. I'm going to do a stock piece of alder on the CNC, and just to see, where, because it's a little bit different than most bridges are. It has this bar that goes across the back, which is cool, and it also has these two bolts that go through with some ferrules that connect to the back here. So there's a few things you got to do to get this thing set up. So I'm going to get started on that. We have to drill holes through the body for the strings to come through. We have to drill holes for the bolts to go through. We have to do a route for the string ferrule plate. And we also have to do a route for the ferrules themselves where the bolts go through, okay? So we got to do that. I'm going to get that set up and run. What we're going to do is a maple and walnut neck. I'm going to laminate these 3 pieces of maple here, very nice clean pieces of white maple. And I'm going to resaw this piece of walnut to do some layers and laminating. And we're going to use an alder body, nice lightweight alder body, because he wants it to be as lightweight as we can make it. This piece of alder is nice and light, so we're going to do that. So let's get started. I'll move the camera around, we'll get over there, we'll get some setups done for the Schaller Hands or Hanes. I think it's probably Hands, Hannes trim system. I don't know why I did that, but kind of talk with my hands a little bit. You know what I mean? And by the way, welcome back. It's good to talk to you guys again. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Every little bit helps. I got my Pappy's Taco shirt on today. Great place to eat. Okay. Shameless plug for Pappy's Tacos. I'll get you turned around. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is mount this piece of wood to the CNC. And I'm just going to use a little double-sided tape thing to do that. Let me move these tools out of the way because they do not need to be here. That's fine where it is. All right, so let's see here. Let me move this out of the way right quick. And then we can set our origin and we can try out this these test programs I have here for this bridge. Just use a couple of pieces of this double-sided tape for this. This stuff works great for quick little setups. We just have a couple of cuts to make, and you're not, putting a lot of force against the wood, which you really shouldn't be doing on a CNC anyway. You should be doing nice, smooth, even, clean, multiple pass cuts. There's no sense in stressing out your machine. You don't need to be in that big of a hurry, right? You're building guitars. You're not building furniture parts. And you're not doing it in a mass production setting. So you can take your time. Relax. All right. So I got this piece here glued down, double-sided tape also, to help me set this up and flip it over and things like that. It keeps everything going in line, and it's easy to register everything straight across it like that. And you don't have to have a whole lot of heartache trying to set up. I just drop it straight across there like that. Just make sure it's stuck good. Now, the first thing I need to do is set an origin, and what I want to do that, let's go ahead and tell this thing to come back to where it was before. And I have this bit that broke off. It was a little 32nd of an inch bit, and I'm going to have to say that it did not last very long, and I really did all of the due diligence to try to make it as life on this bit as easy as possible. When you're using very small bits on the CNC, it's very high speed, but the cut is real slow, and you take a very shallow cut. And I did all of that, and I'm trying to see who makes this bit so you don't make the same mistake I did buying one. And of course the name isn't on there, so I can't tell you not to buy one of these, but don't buy one of them. I think it was made by Spectra, perhaps, or I think it's like no, it's made by a company called Bin Stack. And I fell into the trap of buying a cheap bit on Amazon.com. Have you noticed when you go to Amazon.com that, like, if you type in soldering gun or something like that, there's like 25 different Chinese soldering gun companies? How's that possible? At any rate, I bought one of these bits and it sucks. Don't buy one of these Bin Stack bits. It didn't last through one project. And I have very small bits that I bought through companies like, let's see, what's the name of it? Precision Bits. They make great bits. Don't ask me why I didn't just buy one of those. But I bought this one and said, don't buy one of these. But now that I have broke it off, I can still use that little point right there. It's very good at setting an origin. I can take this right down to the point where I want to stop origin at, if that makes any sense to you. I'll get you over here and show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. Let me get this cutter out of here. There it is. Take out this collet, put in this collet. Okay, so let me get you a little closer. See that set of crosshairs right there? That's what I chose to be the origin on this piece. And it isn't really any particular reason why I chose that. It's just I decided that's the easiest place for me to set an origin on here that I can always get back to. It won't be cut away. I've made the mistake in the past of putting origins out in different places and they get cut away and you can't really find it again. If there's a mistake to be made, I've probably made it. So I just pick an origin that's somewhere in the surface of what I'm doing, and I mark that spot on there, and I can always get back to that origin. Like if I have to come back tomorrow, I got to get back to that origin, if that makes any sense. All right, let's get back over here. And what I'm trying to do is get as close to that as I can. So I bring that little point right down as close as I can get it. Can you see that? Hold on, let me get over there and see what you're looking at. Yeah, you can kind of see that. Hold on a second. So I'm just bringing the point of that bit right down. Right down there, like that, on that point. And I know that is where my origin is. So the machine will return to origin when I need to. All right. And for instance, you can move it away. And tell it to go back to origin. And it'll stop right there, right above that. Right above that mark. So it's pretty darn accurate if you do it like that. Let me just raise Z back up. And we'll push it out of the way. And get a bit in there. And we'll get started. I have all my little programs written here. Let me move you back out of the way. I always print out my shop documentation. Machine operations is what I was trying to say. Marine almost came out. I don't know why. Still early yet. But what this does is it gives me a record without having to refer back to the computer again. See that? Tells you what bit it is, what the cut feed is, spindle speed, machining time, and all of that. Okay? And I always make 2 copies, and I always put it on the old clipboard here when I get done with it. And it's just very easy for me to, like if I do something that has 20 different setups in it, and not all guitars are like that, but some of them have quite a few setups. It's easier for me to refer to this to see which bit I'm using, and then I can kind of plan how I'm doing it. I got a 1/4-inch cutter in here. I can plan, okay, I can go ahead and do this cut, that cut, that cut, that cut. And a lot of times I'll even number them like this. See the numbers over there? That way I kind of know what order I'm doing it in. I try to be as productive as possible, although I'm not always. I try to, kind of do it in a logical way, because if you can figure out a logical way to do it, it's usually the easiest way to do it. Instead of just kind of randomly changing bits and goofing around. All right, so I know I need a 1/4-inch bit right off the top, and I keep a few bits right here that I use most of the time, because you tend to use the same bit over and over. They last a good long time if you're taking care of them. They stay sharp pretty well. I have in the past sent them out to be sharpened. A lot of bits, though, when you do that, it changes the cut radius of the bit, so it makes it a little smaller, that it doesn't actually cut a 1/4 of an inch. If that makes any sense to you. Okay, so we got origin set. I'm going to set the height of the bit so the machine knows where it's at on that cut. And I'm just touching off on the surface here. Now the CNC knows where bottom is. And we can try a cut and see what we get. Put the dust collector back on there. That's something else I need to do. My dust collector bag is full. Oh, that's kind of a miserable job. All right, run disc, bridge, and we'll do plate first. We got plate, strings, bridge, and ferrule. All right, let's do plate first and see what we get. Okay, that's easy enough. Let's hit it with a sanding block real quick. Knock off some of that fuzz. And we'll check and see if the plate fits. Just did this plate cut right here. Right there. See it? And that is where the strings go through, and there's this plate, this ferrule plate that goes through there. This little doodad here. Right? Very nice machined brass piece. And the width is right. I don't want to push it all the way down in there because I have it so that it's nice and tight. It's actually probably a little too tight. So I should probably remachine that with a little more play in it, and it's actually not quite long enough. It's very close, but what I've done is taken the dimensions off of the technical data that they'll oh, actually it fits in there. Okay. So I don't want to push that all the way in because then it'll be hard to get out, because I want that to be a one time, I put this in, I'm not taking it back out again kind of thing. All right. Like I say, so I do not want to push that all the way in, but you can see that it fits very nicely. And when I get to the guitar itself, I'm probably going to go in and write, 5 thousandths of an inch all the way around, maybe less, 2 thousandths of an inch all the way around, because by the time you finish spray and finish on there, and I've also kind of toyed, actually, speaking of spray and finish, I've kind of toyed around with spraying the guitar body first and then doing the cuts on it. And the only thing that's stopping me from doing that is I think that what will happen is if you cut through the finish and you leave that razor sharp line there that's obviously going to be there when you cut through, I believe that the finish will crack right there. One of the reasons why you always soften the edges on anything you spray or you paint is because it allows the surface, the paint to adhesion to the piece. I've noticed in the past, like if you paint something outside, for instance, and you just leave a sharp edge and you paint it, it'll crack right along that sharp edge. So that's one reason why I hesitate to do that. It seems like a good idea, but I don't know, probably not. So I'm probably not going to do that. I have this set of pliers that has plastic jaws on it. I can pull this back out with if I can get a hold of it. See, I've almost messed myself up already. So I don't want to scratch this. I can't get a hold of it. Man. There we go. Put those back there. So I definitely need to add just a little bit around the outside edge of that, and I will in the finished product. This is a test piece, obviously. Okay, so that's my plate. That's my plate cut. Now I need to make the cut for these ferrules. And let's see here. Bridge, plate, strings. That's the holes for the strings. That's the holes for the bridge. Here's the ferrules. Go ahead and run that real quick. I used a hole profiling program for that. That's why it went in a circle like that. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move that back out of the way. Move Y-axis back. And suck some of this stuff. Okay, so that looks right. Let's see. And of course these ferrules have to drop down in there, and they will if I force them. So again, I'm going to need to, that's where this goes through. These two go here. This bolt goes through there. And then strings go through there. And this is the back side of the guitar. So I do know that this works. It looks good. I'm going to add some to it again. Like I said, I'll go back into the program and just make those just a little wider, because there's no sense in trying to force things together like that. It just messes things up. Okay, so, and the rest of them are just hole programs, and that's, we know they'll work just fine. All right, so what I was really interested in doing is just seeing how that looked, how that worked out. All of that goes like this. Strings go through. Got to turn this over. This would be the back side of the guitar. So that test looks like it's going to be fine. I know what I need to do to make that better. The holes, it's just going to drill a hole, so that's nothing I need to really worry about. It'll drill the holes where I tell it to. Okay, I don't think I need to do anything else to that. So I think what I can do is go back into the computer now, rewrite that, and I can get the back of this guitar started. Before I do that though, I'm going to work on the neck and get the neck in glue. The neck can be drying, and I can come in here and do this, because once I get this body on here, this thing will cut each little path so quickly that it's, you know, I'll just stand here and do that and wait on it. And so let's go ahead and work on the neck and get that going. I think we're good on this. All right. So let's move over there. I'll be right back. So the main purpose of this video today is to try to actually get this neck done. But I thought I'd show you kind of a process of how I get started on the CNC and stuff as well. But what I really want to do is get this neck in glue. And then I'll, you know, kind of put a stop to this video because it'll go too long, you know. So first thing I want to do is, I have these pretty pieces of maple, but I just need to flatten them a little on one side, or face it on one side, so that I can run it through the planer and get a nice straight flat cut. This piece is actually amazingly straight as it is, but I still want to probably run it across there one time. Just a nice thin cut to take off any bow in this direction. There really isn't any twist in them because I picked out some nice clean pieces. And they're actually looking pretty good. I just ran them through the planer to get a look at how clean they are. That's why you can see the wood. Obviously this isn't rough cut. The difference would be, like this piece of walnut here is rough cut still. But I'm going to resaw this and plane it down to thinner pieces. So we'll have maple, walnut, maple, walnut, maple, right? So let's get that going. This is going to get a little loud, but we got to do it. All right, so hang on, let me set up the dust collector and stuff, and we'll rock and roll. That thing is loud. That little machine there, that's another little piece of advice I'll give you. If you ever buy one of these Grizzly joiners, they do okay for light duty stuff, like if you're using it once in a while like I just did right there, and you can get a fairly decent cut out of it. They're very difficult to adjust, and I'll give you a little pro tip on this. In the instructions, when it's telling you how to adjust the outfeed and the infeed table, if they get a little out of whack, which they do, it tells you to adjust the tables to this table to the maximum height of the cutter head itself. It doesn't tell you to set it to the height of the knives. So that's a little confusing, because if you try to set it to the cutter head itself, the head, if you have a millwork background, you'll know that the head is actually the part that the cutters go in. So if it's telling you to set it to the cutter head, it's telling you to set it to the head, not the knives. Obviously the knives cut at a different radius than the cutter head. And that kind of messed me up at first. Then I realized what they were trying to say. So if you ever try to do that, set it to the knives, not the cutter head. All right? Get these plane to thickness. We'll resaw this walnut. And our goal today for this video is to get this glued up. So let's do that. I have these set like this, all in line that they came out of the joiner in. Meaning that this side will go down on the planer table surface, because that's the flat surface. All right. This is for a future project I'll show you here in a minute. Hold on. We'll make a little more noise here. Okay, we need to resaw that walnut right quick and then plane it down a little. Before I do that though, before I finish planing it down, I need to know what my finished width is going to be. I haven't checked that yet. What I'm going to do though is just split this right down the center, and then I'll have two nice pieces of walnut. And that's good, because I'm going to plane it down to probably about 3/8 of an inch. Looks good. Let's do that. Okay, so a couple really pretty pieces of walnut, quarter sawn, and we'll stand that quarter sawn up like that and get some really super rigid strength out of that neck. And we're playing these down, and we'll figure out what we need for a finished width on that with the headstock and all, and we'll get this glued together real quick. Oh, we don't have to do it real quick, but we will. All right, hold on. Okay, so sorry about that, my nose itches. I had to stop and let the battery charge up. That's one of the frustrating things about trying to film. I've even gone so far as to done what I thought was pretty much a really good video, only to find out that the camera had turned off. And what I mean by camera is I use an iPad. So anyway, that's beside the point. The point is this. We got our material together for the neck, and we're doing a neck like this with an angled headstock, except we'll be doing it this way, reverse, inline 6. And this is the wood after I planed it down. You saw me before I stopped and did the battery adventure. I resawed that piece of walnut, and I've planed it down to about 3/16 of an inch thick, because we don't want to be too thick here. We just want a nice clean look. So it'll look kind of like everything lined up. It's not lined up yet. Hold on, let me turn off my compressor. While I was waiting for the battery to charge, I did a little finish work. So it'll look kind of like this, right? Maple, walnut, maple, walnut, maple. And it's a very clean looking pieces of maple. Okay, one thing I'm going to have to do though is this. You can notice that this isn't quite as wide. If I want to leave these walnut strips in the center of the neck, which is what you want to do, right? Hold on, let me grab one. You want it to look like that, essentially, right? Like Fender has the skunk stripe. This is what happens if you do it like this. Okay, but you want it to be in the center, right? That looks good. Because if you don't do that, if you try to center it up on the headstock, this is what happens. Now this is still a perfectly good neck. It's just a little odd because the walnut is off to the side because of the offset on the headstock, right? So you don't want that. Well, you may want that. But what I want to do is keep everything, excuse me, right in the center, just like it is. So I'm going to have to add more stock to one side of the glue up because it's not quite wide enough for the headstock. See what I mean? But that's okay because we have plenty of material, and what I will do is, when I get ready to glue it up, is we'll glue this up. We'll get that good and rocked in, okay? And then I will come back and add a little more material to this side using some cutoffs of this material so it'll match well. And I'm going to do a head plate anyway on this surface because I'm going to paint that the same color as the body. All right? So you really won't see any of the laminations on this side, on the head plate side. So I've got this pretty close to where I want it to be to glue it up. What I'm going to do now is just run it through the sander just to make sure everything's clean and we don't have any weird little snipes. You know, planers tend to snipe a little bit when it's coming through, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to run this through and I'm going to clean everything up real well, especially the walnut because I want to clean it just a little thinner. And then we can glue these bad boys together. Okay, so let me go over there to the sander, get this set up, run them through there a couple of times just to make sure they're clean. We'll cut them to length. We'll come back, we'll glue this together, and we'll try to do it real fast so the video doesn't take so long. Okay? All right, we'll be right back. So this is actually an old template that I used to use to do these with, and they come in really handy for these kind of things right here. As you can see, this is obviously a lot thicker than I need to be. As far as overall thickness, because I'll be cutting it out going this way, headstock going down that way, right? But this gives me an idea of where I am with what I need out here. See, I'm going to have to add that piece to there, just like that. That picks up that little swoop right there, and then this one will go here, because there's a little bit of an ear hanging out over there also. That allows me to center this up, just like that. Probably turn it this way. And that gives me exactly the amount of stock I need to get that whole thing out of there. Let me get you closer so you can see. That's what I got to do to glue it up. So we got the lamination in the center. These laminations make the neck really good and rigid too, so it's a nice heavy duty neck. And that gives me enough room, just barely. I'll probably have to add maybe a thicker block here, I don't know. And that way we get that whole cut out, right? That's pretty darn good though, I'll tell you what. And that's very, very close. It's right on the edge. I think I can make it work. If this block was just about a 1/16 of an inch thicker, I would be happier, but I'm not going to complain because it's right there on the edge. I can make that work. Okay? That way I'm using my material correctly. And I need to make a note to myself to leave this material a little bit thicker on the next one. Okay? I should have checked that before, but you know, it is what it is. It's fine. It'll be fine. All right? Okay. These clamps work really good for getting set up on these kind of things. I don't want to turn them this way so I'm not cramped. Like that. Let's just double check the way this looks. I want to make sure the grain's kind of running in the same direction on both pieces. Like this, I think is better. That looks good. What I'm looking for is the grain on these boards to kind of run. The grain runs a little out to the sides, so I want them all to kind of go this way. So they're adding strength to each other. And that looks great right there. That's going to be a very nice looking neck. Okay, let's get that glued up just like that. We get set up to do that. This out of the way. Get out of my way. That's a nice little feature that Tony built into these clamps. Just that little thing right there, so your clamp sits straight on your bench. Pretty smart idea. Pretty smart. Gonna do that. Just like that. Time to clean the bench off. Starting to close in on me again. All right, just like that. What I want to do is get some stiffeners to put on here that will equally distribute this clamping pressure. And then I'll put 2 clamps here also. So let me grab that. See, I'll use these heavy duty pieces of maple here. I use these like a clamping caul. So that gives me really nice, equal, heavy-duty pressure going across the neck here, so we get a really sweet glue joint. And that is of utmost importance when doing something like that. Everything is clamped together tightly. And before I even put glue on it, I always check it just to make sure that it looks right. And I think it looks great. I think that's going to work great. Everything looks good on this side. You always want to make sure you don't have any daylight shining anywhere because of anything that may be in between the boards or a snipe that you didn't see or anything like that, because you want every surface to touch very tightly together. Right? Right. Okay, let's put some glue on this thing, man. One thing about these clamps, they're a little tricky to get loosened back up. There you go. You got to pretty much go all the way back out, lift up. One thing about them, it's a little irritating. There you go. There you go. All right. Okay, I gotta do this quick because battery's dying, and that's not good. That iPad's just about wore out, I think, as far as battery life goes. The rest of it works great, but the battery runs out quick. Okay, so all we gotta do now is tighten these clamps down. We got a really nice heavy-duty lamination going here. Make sure everything's sitting flat on the clamps. Looks great. And we'll just start adding pressure slowly. That way everything doesn't start slipping and sliding. Great thing about these clamps is it really presses very flat. So you don't get a lot of slip anyway. Everything stays really flat when it's clamped together. There's no pressure on one side or the other, which would make it squeeze up or squeeze down or slip. You know, it's really flat. It usually does really well. Just want to make sure we keep checking to make sure they're flat on the clamp. Like that. Add a little extra pressure. And that is a neck lamination. And I'm going to sign off, and I'll put the other clamps on. You guys don't have to watch that. I'll just get it done. Just want to thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging around. We'll try to do some more videos. We're going to do a video for every part of this build because I think it's important for Ross and for Chuck. Okay? So you guys be good out there. We'll see you out there somewhere. Go see some bands. Okay? Go out there and support your local guitar players. Okay? Peace out. Love you. Worth Guitars. Bye now.